everyone. Okay, so I guess the first thing to talk about is you can definitely see Mashima's gamer sensibility shine through in this chapter, as it immediately starts with Joker digitizing Rebecca inside its game world, immediately thrusting us into a throwback to 8-bit pixel adventure games, before Rebecca kicks it in the fucking face, like, and pretty much breaking the illusion, but only for it to transition again into a motorcycle race between the two, obviously paying homage to motorcycle racers, before we but with the obviously extra twist of Joker coming armed with missiles, which whistles, inevitably transitioning again via Mario World pipe. Seriously, that transition was hilariously fucking epic, and seamless, mind you, into a Street Fighter-inspired brawl between Rebecca and Joker, culminating in Professor Weiss and Shiki showing up at the end of the chapter and turning the tables on Joker by taking control of the game world, turning it into a fantasy RPG, more than likely paying homage to Dragon Quest. And again, having all these game references in the chapter should be distracting, but Mashima managed to incorporate them beautifully into the dynamics of the fight itself by virtue of this being a game world. And in this world, and I like how it is kind of impressed upon us that in this world, it's all Joker's rules. It's all Joker's rules. And for as goofy as an overtone as the chapter did have, I like how Mashima didn't even dance around the fact that because Joker is a gaming AI and does rule this world, it does control the rules of it. So if you really think about it, if Professor Weiss and Shiki hadn't shown up when they did, it would have been curtains for Rebecca. Rebecca likely would have lost this one, which to that end, I think the only thing I disliked about the game segments of the chapter was I would have liked to stay in that pixelated style a little bit longer, like the pixelated style at the beginning of the chapter a little longer, or have the art style reflect each game being referenced. But again, it's cool regardless. It's just I would have liked maybe a little bit more just actual visually capture the look of those games a bit more. But again, as it is, it's still epic to see all this kind of being referenced and regardless of what, you can tell Mashima really has a love and passion for these games. Otherwise, he wouldn't have referenced them so blatantly. The man just loves. You can tell that the man loves video games, and it's kind of clear on the screen with this chapter. With that said, though, there is one moment I do want to put a spotlight on, which is after being notified of Joker's presence aboard the Eden Zero. Obviously, Shiki, Rebecca, and the Professor go to stop it, while the others pretty much stay on the ground in order to fend off Joker's clones or whatnot, and leading to the aforementioned video game shenanigans. But one moment I really liked is Weiss's one line before they leave, saying, "Be careful, old man." Now, again, possible death flag discussions aside, I do really like this moment in itself, for how we are seeing more moments of Weiss showing concern for his older self. As for the longest time, it really felt like he was only ever annoyed by his older self more than anything else. Obviously, he did care for him in a sense, but it was always in that sort of in that sense of self-preservationist type of care. But now, I like how we, even if it took a long time coming, we are getting more moments that show that Weiss does genuinely care about what happens to the old man, which in itself does show, I think, how much Weiss himself has kind of matured over the course of the series. Don't get me wrong, Weiss is still brash and hot-headed, but he's learned to care more, and just how and more so just how precious life is, which I know for a lot of people, they often say Weiss is an underdeveloped character in the series, and don't get me wrong, I can see a bit of where that criticism comes from, but at the same time, I don't think his development was meant to be as overt as some of the other characters. I think how Mashima had intended Weiss to always be is how is he always intended to show how Weiss grows as a character. I think how he intended to show how Weiss grows as a character, I think, was always meant to be shown through more of the little moments of how he adapts to the world around him and how he matures into his own person in comparison to his older self. Because when looking at Weiss now, when looking at Weiss to when he was first introduced to Weiss now, I think honestly the experience that R. Weiss has had throughout the series might be the thing that ultimately makes him into a better person than the professor ever was or is now. Like I think a lot of what Mashima's intent with Weiss was to show what pretty much his older self was and the mistakes his older self made, and use that sort of as a springboard to show Weiss's development and maturity, and showing R. Weiss is going to learn from his mistakes, and in his future he isn't going to be making those exact same mistakes as his older self. He's going to be a much better person for these experiences. At least that's kind of my view of Weiss, at least from what I've gathered from a lot of his development throughout the series. And yeah, aside from that, not much else to really talk about. This just felt like a really fun chapter that really puts into perspective why Mashima created Joker Helix, which is to say he wanted another excuse to narratively flex just how much of a gamer he is. And honestly, this is probably the best way outside of like the Digitalis arc, which was a video game arc. This was probably the best way he could have done it when it comes to incorporating these game-like elements into the story, or at least with this section of the story. Now, the bigger question I have is to whether or not Joker is going to get defeated by the end of this. And honestly, part of me wants to say yes, but at the same time, the way this whole thing is playing out feels just weirdly a little too easy. Like, it's that feeling where even if they defeat Joker, I don't think it's gonna get taken out of the picture completely. Like, whether it's one himself or one of the other Galactica, like, it feels like someone is gonna come in to save Joker, because when the thing is, when you look at Joker as a character, like, Joker is just too much of a valuable asset to lose. And granted, that could be all the more reason why Joker could get defeated here, as it could be the first big blow to one. But again, I don't know. The whole setup of this makes it feel a little too easy for it to be assured victory by the end of this. Like, I can't help but feel that maybe, again, one of the other Galactica is going to come in to save Joker, because Joker is just too valuable to really die. But again, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, and on this Crunchyroll. Push the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Night signing off. Later, everyone.